Everybody? Enough talk, the L5R video podcast. This is a video. We are podcasting. Today we're talking about all the attachments in the new order, followers, items, and spells. How you doing, Paul?
I'm very well, Jesse. How are you? I'm pretty excited about this. I am a man who enjoys I like shopping, man. I like going off to Walmart. I love throwing stuff down on my guys. I feel like a lot of people sort of gloss over the various attachments. They just sort of like see them as, cards for draft or cards for somebody other than themselves. But I always spend a lot of time evaluating attachments. I think that, in the old days, you bought a guy and put a thing on the guy and attacked the province, and that's what L5R was. And in my hearts of hearts, that's what L5R still is. So I spend a lot of time looking at these cards, and it's always fun to review them.
I got a lot of jokes about Walmart and how weapons and items have gone downhill in quality and how it all makes sense. We got a lot to cover though,
Yep.
so let's just dive right in instead of listening to my terrible jokes. Here's Anonymous Monk. It is a man wearing a basket on his head. I
We're
am not
not really sure
impressed.
what's going on. Yeah, I know. This is one of those cards that, like, I read it, and it's neat. It's like, okay, so I can gain expendable, and I can gain cavalry for my guy, and I can gain +1 force. But, like, let's assume I have all of that stuff. Let's assume I have the three rings. So I am +1 force, and my guy's cavalry, and my follower has expendable. Is it worth 4 gold? I guess.
Nope.
Meh. It is a monk, so you can get it a little cheap off of Harmonious Temple. I'm never wasting my time with you, Anonymous Monk. I would much rather just have the follower that contributes force while bowed, or the follower that straightens my guy, or the follower that shoots things, or the follower that does anything proactive and is not dependent on the number of rings I've put into play. Boo on Anonymous Monk.
Followers need to do one of two things. They need to either A, efficiently generate force, or subclause to A, haha, loophole manpowers activate, is they need to generate a lot of force. Or
That's
number
it.
two, they need to they need to have a powerful or at least an impactful ability. This does neither, and so it gets a pass. It does
So if you're
remind me of the card from Lotus Samurai, the one monk that gets more powerful as you have rings in play, culminating in he becomes indestructible, I believe.
yeah.
And this card
Um,
ain't that, so that's a little bit of a
It's
sad
not
throwback.
guidance and war. So, did I see this card and try really hard to come up with a brew that'll play it? Of course I did. So, like, I could play my Corrupt Dragon deck, start with 1 ring, blow up my temple to put Void into play so I have 2 rings, buy Muniku no Oni, attach this to Manuku no Oni because it can attach to non-humans. Normally they don't let you give your Oni cavalry, but this guy can do that. And then I can have, like, a big cavalry Oni unit and take a province like that. And okay, so I've built a deck to play this card, but it's not really that good of a deck because it's built around a not very good card.
And then you remember you can just attach Hellbeast instead.
Correct. Well, I
Next
mean,
up,
obviously.
next up we've got Bound Spirit. Um,
Unstoppable Fear 3. We assume it's always Fear 3. That might not be a fear assumption. This is the card I would
a
like to say
fear
that I could
assumption.
maybe, yeah,
C minus. C
eh.
minus.
Uh, if we didn't have cool Stones of Purity, I still wouldn't play this card because
Absolutely.
so
Yeah. So this
force efficient. Yeah,
the fact that this card costs 5 gold and specifically references Earthstreak Engine in its text means that we're going to compare it to Stones of Purity, and it means that we're not going to play it.
yep. The non-human nature means you can't even do some sort of sneaky School of Wizardry to get the Bound Spirit out because you can School of Wizardry Shugenja followers. But yeah, so this is nothing to see here. Let's move along.
We've made the comment about Unstoppable Fear being really good a number of times, so do take that into effect. Next, we've got Boyo Spearman.
I can't believe that I wasn't allowed to put Drennan on a card, but now we've been infected with multiple boyos. I mean, I know Sean Cartman doesn't like me, but it's really just getting embarrassing. Every time I see a boyo card, it feels like the weapons. Hey, so I like Spearman. How about you?
Yeah, I got this deck that plays a lot of followers. It might just need another melee effect, so here you go.
Yep.
It does randomly relevant. If you have more melee attacks in your deck than ranged attacks, you can play this over Spearman, so you get the combined effects. because you cannot combine a ranged and a melee attack. Obviously, military forces do not work that way. You never shoot your bows and charge your troops at the same time. That would be a terrible
Correct.
strategy.
It's a Ronin. Does that? I don't think that matters to me. Okay.
So yeah, it's vanilla. It's a guy. Draft it highly. Play it in decks that want melee attacks. Otherwise,
You'll play
move
it
on.
even alongside Spearman a lot of times in Mantis Pew Pew decks because you can. Gifted Officer. I have actually played in Oil Imperial Vanguard. I have played Heavy Infantry. I have played 7 gold cost attachments. I've played 8 gold cost attachments. I don't think I'm ever playing Gifted Officer,
Nope.
but I mean,
so he's minus 1 force
yeah.
off of your heavy infantry. So he's minus 1 force off your heavy infantry in exchange for this effect. I hope that in the next few sets, by the way, they come up with a keyword to template this ability. Because
like this trait.
this
yeah,
is a mouthful.
This, like,
They just say like protection 2 or something.
Yep.
Because this is 3 lines of text to say something that's intuitively extremely simple.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is, like I said at the top of the video, followers need to either generate efficient force, generate lots of force, or have a meaningful ability. This has none of them. And that sucks for Gifted Officer. It's comparable,
nobody
I think,
played
to front
the
rank
expendable
troops.
one.
Yeah,
right?
front rank
There's the
troops.
expendable. Yeah, nobody played him. You shouldn't really waste your time playing this guy. It's just a card to maybe draft.
He's a card that I feel should have had something stapled onto him trait-wise. He should have been a Destined, or he should have been a...
If you make him reserve, he's really good. So they're not going to go reserve, right? Because you could go, surprise, a bunch of force, and that'd be nice. I don't know what else you'd staple onto him. Resilient and defend something.
Resilient on the follower, but not the guy. Like,
there's any number of things you could put on it that would make it better, but none of those things are there. So
yeah.
whatever.
So, next card.
So this is a card I would probably play instead of Frontline Officer because while it's uninspired, while it's vanilla as vanilla can be, 4 force for 5 gold is a perfectly fine value. There are very few personalities that give you 4 force for 5 gold. There are very few followers that are 4 force it's fine. There's a number of, medium infantry is 3 force for 3 gold, but sometimes you need 4 force, so you have to go up to this 5 gold Tachiro's Legion. Perfectly fine vanilla card. It's nice to have a baseline, sort of like, this is where you go for just solid force to gold. I'm happy with it. I don't think I'll play it. I mean, I played Lion's Pride back in the day, so there is something to be said about 4 force followers. Maybe in an aggressive Lion deck.
I envision this guy hanging out with a lot of berserkers off of Sujeki Sensei.
There you go. I absolutely can see that. You put it on the 5 force Conqueror to get to your 9 force unit. Absolutely.
And then off you go. So this is a perfectly playable card. I think it'll show up in berserkers. I think, like you said, it might show up in some aggressive builds of the Lion decks. And maybe, just maybe, if we can make Secluded Village work.
Secluded Outpost reduces things by 4. You'd have to pick up an extra 1. But yeah, okay, I'm with you.
But otherwise, baseline cards. These are good to have because
even Unicorn, I could see playing it just straight off the box. I mean, you want to have some number of Fate side gold cost cards to make sure you're efficiently being able to use your resources every turn, including into the late game. And this is a perfectly fine place to put 5 gold.
Cards like this are important for evaluatory purposes because when you look at a card like Gifted Officer, you say, well, how does it stack up to this Legion card? And the answer is not so good. This Ronin is extremely happy.
He is that. And he's on a horse and has cavalry, so high five.
Wow.
Have you ever you're a rich white guy, so I assume you've been horseback riding a bunch.
Yeah, I'm actually an avid polo player.
Okay, so have you ever held your polo club, rode a horse, and smoked a pipe at the same time? I feel like this would not be a good way to smoke a pipe.
I tried. I kept jamming the pipe into my mouth as I bounced on the back of the horse.
It doesn't seem like it's one thing to be cool and cavalier and smoke your pipe while holding your big stick, but I don't think doing it while riding a horse is going to be a very effective maneuver.
Well, I'm not jovial enough.
Perhaps.
The Unicorn players talk a lot about the cavalry tax. Here it is.
but
Um,
followers were better than items for a really long time because of the Family Dojo. Fear equal to person. So conditional unstoppable fear effect. We don't like fear that much, even if it is unstoppable. And at best, it's probably a 3 most of the time because there's not a ton of 4 PH guys. I guess I can put this on my Shiba Tsukimi to get an unstoppable fear 5. Is that where I'm at with Jovial Ronin? I guess that's it. That's the best I can come up with.
yeah, so it's just going to be a question of what your PH looks like in Corn. This is a guy for Corn. They have a number of guys now that interact with Fear. So if you can make a
But
meaningfully
we
sized
know what
Fear
their
and
we
turn it
know what their
lethal,
PH is, right? They got a couple of 3s and then some 2s and 1s. There's
I
nothing
mean,
really
in the
there.
deck that runs the guys that interact with Fear,
Fair
obviously.
enough. What happens
Otherwise,
if you can combine fear effects, right? So what happens if I combine an unstoppable with a regular fear?
it remains unstoppable because you declare the unstoppable first, and then you interrupt the unstoppable with the other one, increasing its fear effect.
Okay, so that's kind of neat.
Yep. So it's a card.
I think it gets
Maybe.
pushed out by other cards, but
Yeah, I think
okay.
the force generation is so low, and it's so much worse than just attaching like a mounted spearman or something and getting yourself a ranged attack. But with the number of cards that interact with fear now, it maybe it'll come through, maybe it won't. Nizumi remnants. Apparently,
They're still
Ratling are
here.
still
I mean,
around. I thought they were gone, but they're not.
Bryn's around, and they're on the island, and they're pure someplace, and those that do are different. I don't know. They're messed up. I don't know. Someone explain to me what's happening with the Rathlings. And you can explain it to me while, using this card, because I'm never going to play this card. So you can just, like, take all my copies.
Yeah, here's some more fear. Here's some more fear effects. This one specifically wants me to fear a card that is currently not generating force in a battle in order to attrition it out. Next card.
Yep.
There's nothing here.
Oh, and they have cavalry because Ratlings have cavalry. I don't know.
Yeah, this is a perfect example of the Whippoorwill rule. What about this? I think this is two guys clawing each other in the face, but it's cavalry. Like, come on, guys. Like, just put a horse in the picture somewhere. Help me out here.
So, on to Shinjo Archer.
Here's a horse. This is a card with a horse in the
follower.
picture. I know what's going on here. You see this guy? Yep, he's cavalry.
It's called Shinjo Archer. If this was a range 3 attack, I would maybe look at this card as a range 2 attack. I'm not that interested. 3 force for 6 isn't a terrible rate, but a range 2 attack isn't really big enough to get me excited. Even if it's a range 2 attack where I don't have to bow, quote unquote. So
I'm gonna disagree with you on a number of points. 6 gold for 3 force is in fact terrible. This card would be a better card if a number of the numbers were changed on it. I might play it at 5 gold. If it were a completely different card, it would be a much better card. Trained Horseman. So this is the first of 2 cards that are trained. They have this protection trait at -1. So for 12 gold, you get a -1 and a no bow range 3. I think this is absolutely in the elite mounted heavy samurai cavalry archers category of utter unplayability. What do you think?
Yeah, this one really let me down. We have seen some really cool, expensive followers, right? We've seen Taoist Ouchers. We've seen Heavy Elite from Harbinger, which was, you didn't get to see it, but it was target an enemy card with equal or lower force and blow it up, and then you draw a card, and it was like and it had the Elite trait, so it contributed while it was bowed, and that was a really cool thing. I liked the Heavy Elite. This card is worse, I think, than just an Elite Heavy Infantry. Elite Heavy Infantry now would have the Elite trait, which means it would contribute while bowed, and it was like 5 force for 9 gold. This is 12 gold.
Yeah.
It does have cavalry, but like the protection thing doesn't do anything for me. And a range 3 doesn't interest me. It's just too much. 12 is too big, right? Like compare it to what was it, Legion of Toshigoku, the 12 gold that like negate. No, whatever the hell it was. There was a 12 gold cost follow in Emperor Edition that was 6 force, made a range 6 attack, and like negated a destruction.
Yeah.
It's too much of an investment for what you're getting. A range 3 attack isn't big enough. If you make that battle ranged 5, then we can have a conversation. If you make the protection -3, then maybe I can get behind it, but I still don't think so. It's just the numbers the numbers aren't quite right. I wonder if it started at 8 gold and sort of got pushed up to 10 gold and sort of got pushed up to 12 gold. If you're going over 10 gold, you got to be a really impressive attachment, and this just isn't it.
So, um, I agree with the sentiment overall. I don't think this is a card that's going to make it. But I will disagree that a no bow range, an unconditional no bow range 3 is something we should care about. That's going to do work in this environment. While deliberations exists, this card is unplayable. This is obviously a strict card. No one will play it in Arc.
Yeah.
But depending on how Arc pans out, I think that this card does have a chance of making it. There's a chance that
Right.
requiring
So
a
stuff like
6 to get it
Yeah.
is just too much. There's just nothing that can touch it. You have to assemble a huge Voltron unit just to make a ranged attack big enough to get it, and then you can still turtle shell a ranged attack and just blow them
Pretty
out
easy
completely.
to fear though. The 20 festival spider box with any courage card.
Fair enough. So it's yeah, and that's fair. So maybe that pushes me off of it a little bit. It depends how ubiquitous fear becomes.
Right.
Mm,
I mean, in entrenched position right now gets it. Obviously, I'm not. I mean, in Arc, there's no
no, don't
way.
even think about it for Arc. It's just a question. I mean, so many things interact
No
uniquely with
way.
attachments. I think no, I take it all back. My idea was like you put one of these out and it's this huge brick, and maybe they can mess with your other stuff, but it
Except
basically makes
it's
the unit
not a huge
invincible.
brick because what happens when they go defend with my one guy, come one at a time, right?
Right, then you just die. So
It,
stay away. The big double-digit followers always make me miss the Minanuki no Oni or whatever it was called, the
sure.
24th one. That would be playable at 12 gold.
Right. So, I mean, I see what they're doing. It's just not. It. There in the past, there's been some really interesting. The card I couldn't remember was Champion of Thunder, right? That was the one that made
Yeah, yeah,
range
yeah,
six.
yeah, yeah.
But there was also a Cavalry for Hire was a 10 gold cavalry follower, had like 7 force, negated a destruction effect on the follower, and it had like a send home or something. And then there's been stuff like the Elite Sentry or there's a big Naga last arc, like a Naga ambush follower
Mm.
and Forgotten Legacy. Like there's been big followers before, and there will be big followers again. But at the end of the day, I'm just this isn't one that interests me. This is too much like this is Samurai Cavalry or something.
Yep.
Samurai. It's just not. It's missing the boat a little bit. I know the Ivory is less powerful than those other arcs, but when you're scaling up, you gotta really scale up, and this does not. It doesn't line up properly in terms of power level. And
So
that's
the next,
I think we can.
yeah,
And
we
Swordsman,
can
everything
glaze
we
over
just
this.
said.
Everything we just said
Yeah.
applies to this. It's 1 gold less, but don't think that 1 gold is going to make the difference. Just
And it's
stay
melee
away.
instead of rage, which is demonstrably worse in terms of cards that interact with it.
It's slightly better because you can't get got by the turtle shell, but
Yeah, but you
it's
can't
also it's
up
harder to
it, right?
combine and
Yeah.
whatever. Now, Unliving Legion, on the other hand, this is a really cool card,
Yeah.
and it's a card that I'm
Love
bullish
it.
on.
Love it, love it.
I'm bullish on it because of our experiences with the spell from Celestial Edition, the name of which I'm drawing a blank on.
Okay.
The one that when you target your zombie, blow up your zombie and make more zombies.
Yeah. The broken spell that gave you 2 zombies when they targeted your zombie. That was really awesome. It was
So
a great card.
what's the connection? The connection is if you have multiple Unliving Legions in play, you get a lot of followers.
Yeah, that's about it. And it's got a 3 honor hit, so that's going to disqualify it from a lot of decks, right? A lot of people aren't going to be in the market for that. But I think it's when you have it in multiples and just it's such a good rate to start with, right? At 3/3. I am also very bullish on this card. I don't know fear equal to number of undead, so it starts at a fear 1 because it is itself an undead.
Yeah,
As
so
soon
that's
as
garbage.
one.
So it's just a 3 for 3 blank that when you lose a follower, it makes another follower. Why they're not just
That
blowing up the Unliving Legion as the first follower is a question that remains to be answered. But I
Well,
think there is a
in
deck that can
Triggers, when
leverage
you
this.
blow up their stuff, right? So if you go like sneak kill it, like that's pretty cool,
Yeah, and it's a
right?
personality or follower, so it's pretty cool. You can get a lot of stuff, and it's pretty proactive. Um,
Oh,
my
that's one of the things that ended up with the spell, what was it? I can't. Consuming the flesh. Now, consuming the flesh was always singular, right? But you could never have multiple copies out.
mhm.
So if you have multiple, like if you get 3 of these out, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, so
I
like blow up
like
your
the
guy,
card.
get 3 force, and I think it's gonna make it in Arc is where this is gonna shine because you'll still have the family dojo. So like you've got a 3 force guy. Their first action is mess with one of your smaller followers, and you immediately get 3 more force family dojo up, and that's pretty cool. So give them a try. I think this is a great card. It's force efficient. It's got a good ability. It's got an interesting ability, and zombies are cool or something.
I know. I love an excuse to go corrupt. And our last one is Victorious Waveman. It's not quite Frontier Farmers, but it is gonna be able to come back a little bit over the course of the game. And it's got reserve, so that if they shoot it, you can reattach it. Or if they duel your guy and it dies, you can reattach it. So I think Victorious Waveman is a follower that I'll be playing in a number of different decks. I'm pretty happy with it. You know, 2 force for 3 gold isn't exciting, but it's not bad.
Agreed.
I feel like this is pushed just enough to find its way into a number of follower-based military strategies.
If you haven't been paying attention to the lessons from the Crane decks running Enslaved Jin, Frontier Farmer, then you haven't been playing enough L5R. I think Victorious Waveband is going to be a strict all-star and a post-rotation arc all-star.
Yep.
This sort of effect is really, really good. Replaying your followers over and over again is really, really good because they provide good protection from the
Really
most powerful battle
interesting.
effects.
You can like put it on your resilient guy, defend with your resilient guy, do some stuff. Your resilient guy dies, this dies, but then this comes back too. So I mean, there's a lot of play to this guy, and he's gonna have some good value. So
All right, so moving on from the followers, we've got Akumoto, and anytime I see an asterisk on a card, I'm always excited.
yeah, this isn't a bad card. It's a fine card. I sort of just I don't like the maximum. Don't tell me the maximum amount of force I can have. If I have 18 dishonored guys, I worked for a man. Give me my plus 18. So battle, straighten your guy. That's a perfectly fine battle action. Item sponsors. You can only run so many attachments in your deck, and you find yourself competing at price points against different things. I mean, I say you can only run so many attachments. I guess in the case of the Philippines deck, it's like 39, but you know what I mean. There's only so many items or followers that your average deck is going to be able to square into. I do think that some number of Kensei decks will be in the market for this card. I do think that it has some flexibility to what it allows you to do. It lets you, proactively bow your guys and then straighten them with your Akumotos. It's a fine card. I'm not very excited about it because the rate's so low. I don't think having expendable gets me anything here, but it is, one-handed, so you can get, this plus something else on a guy. I like this card.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Versatile Blade is going away, so and that was a card that was played extensively for its straighten. Obviously, it moves back in as well, but the straighten ability was
Yeah.
incredibly important. So this is a card that can fill that role. Now the difference between this and Versatile Blade is Versatile Blade comes down for 3 force, or sorry, for 2 force. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. This one can get to 2 force with some work, but isn't automatically going to do that, and it requires you to have at least 3 personalities in play to get the 3 force, or at least 2 personalities in play to get the 2 force.
And so Spider is the place where you would probably see this played because the difference between a Dishonored Spider guy and a 0 PH Spider guy isn't much. There is some downside to having the occasional Dishonored guy. It can gum up the works. It can, mess with your ability to play some of your other fate cards. So you gotta take it into account a little bit in deck construction, but I don't think too much. I think that if you're looking for straighten effects that you can keep on the board and play multiple times as opposed to like having to play, so many Relentlesses or Ways of the Crab, then this is a card you'll go to. I don't have anything that I want to put it in exactly right now and grab it and get a cool new straight box, but I can see myself eventually, if the environment lines up in such a way that this is a card that I'm glad I'll be happy to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'll keep it in mind for any Corrupt Mantis, sort of strict reconstructions. The
Yep.
fourth generation might not be good enough, but in that sort of singular big unit attack, a straighten effect is really powerful. Next up is a bad Renu's Wrath.
It's a little different though, right? So you are by your bad Renu's Wrath, you're clearly down on this card. I point out a couple of things. The first thing I point out is that this is not a weapon or an item. Now Renu's Wrath, that was true as well, but Renu's Wrath was unique. So you can have 3 demolishers on a single guy. That's not nothing.
Think of all the things you can demolish.
Right? I mean, the fact you can, max. So we were talking about, obviously it's not a card for everyone because an 8 gold cost item isn't going to be for everyone. But we were talking before when we did the events about sort of make one big basket and have some thirdly supporting cast. This is that card. This is the card that you can play this, and you can play a big weapon, and you can maybe play a big armor, and you can keep jabbing these things onto somebody and have some melee fights. And you play, Shrine to Hachimans to try to keep it unbowed to make sure you don't lose your force trigger. And Melee 5's a killer thing. Melee 5's going to get you something.
And I was going to talk about that. So, Melee 5 is huge. There's nothing that really gums it up. There's no turtle shell for Melee. There's no shield wall for Melee. You pick a guy and you kill it. That's great. The flip side of that is you're getting 8. It costs you 8 gold, and it gets you 0 force if you choose to do it.
You can turtle shell at Melee, right? I know you've said this before. I've sort of glossed over it. I don't want to be super smarmy about it, but you can turtle shell a Melee attack. But
that was an MRP on turtle shell.
Yeah, I mean it's an MRP because Melee attacks didn't exist in Gold Edition when they printed turtle shell. But yeah,
no, well,
or Shadowlands or whatever the heck that card was printed.
I'm a cool dude. I always play with my old ass cards. So
yeah, well, so I just want to toss that out there. So it can get gummed up the works a little bit, but Melee 5 is a big number. It will get you something. This is a card. It's not a great card, but like Renu's Wrath, this is a card I'll see. And by how great is it going to be if you get to play it against someone who's playing fortifications and you just use it to blow up fortifications? You'll love that, right? Because you'll get to make fun of them for playing fortifications.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to.
Absolutely. If you attack, and I think that'll come up. Like you attack an honor player and they'll do something to buy your guy and they'll be slightly under force. You're like, all right, screw it, take that PPG, and then they'll be screwed. Like it was just as good as taking a province anyway because you set their clock back a turn or two. So maybe this card will make it just 8 gold, man. It's so much gold.
It's a lot of gold. Oh, okay, on to Forge Hammer, +2 for 2. So these cards exist. There's a number of variations. Any one of them isn't very exciting because you have Colonial Conscripts, you have Caillou Axe. Those cards are both straight better, right? They're 2 4s for 2 gold, but maybe do something else useful.
Yeah. Notably, though,
we love Colonial Conscripts.
Colonial Conscripts awesome, but Colonial Conscripts can't be bought off of the Toil of Zokujin, and this can. So if this card makes it, that will be why.
Right. So this is a card that this isn't the first card, but if you're putting together a deck and you want to have 15 2 gold cost for 2 force item attachment things, Forge Hammer is one of those, right? It's a filler. It's a fine filler. It has expendable. Go you, Forge Hammer.
Yeah, for sure. And I can envision a deck that like a blitzy deck that plays just a ton.
Yep.
It plays a bunch of mines plus Lane of Immorality and the Toil of Zokujin, and you want to buy a guy on 1 plus a 1-for-1 that you can throw down 2 attachments, 1 off your 1-for-1 and 1 off your box, and then go to town on a province.
And this is, it's two-handed, so you can't do any cool Kensei stuff, but maybe you're just playing like a weenie Kensei-type dragon deck, and you play this card because you're looking for a saturation of a type of card. Yep. You're looking for a number of force-efficient attachments. Fits the build just fine. Iron Armor. is not force efficient, but it
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
negates being sent home.
Oh, we're
And
we're off tempo. So you're on Iron Armor. I'm on Raiden no Tushi here.
yeah, you got to back up. It's Iron Armor next.
Okay. Did I forget to click it open? That'd be pretty
You did.
embarrassing.
You
Okay.
did, man.
One moment, please, everybody. Little
Let's sing our alphabet song here. Turns
A.
out the letter I does become
Yeah,
before
yeah,
the
yeah.
letter
Okay.
R.
Thanks, Dick. All right, Iron Armor. Um, yeah. So no movement and protection for 4 gold plus 2 force. Does it make the cut?
So doesn't protect from fear, and it negates your movement effect. So you lose your fallback or your ritual preparation or whatever that tactical might send your guy home, make them lose 2 force card is. So you lose some of your runaway stuff. You can't water out. It's a good card. I don't know who I'm putting it on. You're not putting it on Ogrobushi, but maybe you're put it on the guy who has Demolisher, and just show up and do your thing. That's not the sort of thing that we're seeing right now in Ivory Edition. Even Unicorn, when they make their big spell units, you don't want to lose your ability to like use a card effect to move your cavalry guys around, right? You can still cav it. You don't want to lose, back to the front type stuff, do you? I don't know. I can see it being played. I can't come up with the composition of the full deck yet.
It's a balls to the walls
I give
type card, and I think it
it's
will
an
be
average,
it will be a super unit type card. So what I pictured it in is a deck with a lot of redirects and negates. So you're playing the event, you're playing Final Sacrifice, you're playing Ward of Air, you're playing
Man,
Interrupt the Void's Flow.
Another thing to put on my Shiba Tsukimi. That's all
Exactly. So you got this big dude with big force, and he's taking provinces all by himself, and also now you got this Iron Armor. So anything that would mess with him, you can cancel, and most cards just can't mess with him at all. So I think this card is close. You need to be the right kind of player and the right kind of deck for it to really punch through. But maybe like a Kensei deck, you give your guy 2 weapons plus this armor, and then off he goes, and you're not touching that guy.
Yep. We should talk about this. Is the sort of card that would be really interesting in different formats on different personalities. I would play this on a Gazar no Oni or something like that. Ivory doesn't have a lot of big, expensive, here I am, I've shown up to really do some work kind of personality. So you have to do more work to get it to have the value you want it to have. But it's a card.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're on to your Raiden Osuchi.
Yep. Let me get that back down there. Here we are, Raiden Osuchi. Another 8 gold weapon. We're seeing a lot of this actually.
So nothing makes me excited more than an 8 gold weapon with courage. There's just something really perversely enjoyable about the idea of like, well, I've got this card. It's got this prohibitively high gold cost. I guess I'll just discard it to negate fear or increase fear. There's nothing really charming about it. This is let's make Wormbone Katana, take 2 or 4 or whatever it is. Gotta move in. Got a melee attack. Yep,
There's not a lot to say about this. So the question
it's not Wormbone Katana. It doesn't have the focus value, so you can't put it into dual decks.
The question about this card is whether or not it's better than Bow of Ritual Blessings.
Yep.
And I'm not sure it is. So the movement effect obviously is a plus over the bow, but the straight bow is better than a melee 3. So I think that you're always going to draft not draft, but you're always going to pick. I was trying to be clever with my verbiage and it sort of ran into CCG reality. You're going to pick the bow before the hammer.
But if I get my 3 Demolishers, plus my Raiden Osuchi, plus my Iron Armor, all on top of my Shiba Tsukimi, you're in trouble, baby.
Uh-oh. We're in trouble.
That's right.
Saikatsu.
Well, what did we think of Ray? Final, we're just sort of like average.
It's fine. I mean, the problem, I think that there's a danger. Design needs to be cognizant of the danger of printing a lot of weapons or any card type at the same price point because they're going to start running into each other. Decks can't afford to run 16 8 gold cost items, attachments. So what are you running? Are you running Demolisher? Are you running the Raiden? Are you running the Bow? Are you running the the Blessed Naginata, and I think that of all those
I like the one
options,
that gives me the -1 chi, like the something
right?
of
Yeah, the
soul.
cursed sword that's blowing
Yeah.
up guys. So this is where evaluating cards in the context of their environment matters. The hammer is cool, the hammer is great, but are you really picking it over any of those cards? And if the answer for that is no, are you really playing both? And the answer for
Yep.
that is also probably no.
Okay, Katsu. Now this is a card I might play over other 5 gold cost weapon items, just because there's no other. It's another one of those sort of Hachiro's Legion vanilla, like +3/+2 for 5. There are personalities that are 3 force, 2 chi, and cost you 5 gold. So this is a fine item.
Yep.
You can use it. If it had higher focus value, you'd play it in a number of decks as a dual supplement card. The low focus value negates that strategy, but you can play it as one of your weapons of choice in various weapon-based military decks to just sort of help you overcome their chi, right? Like you throw this on a 4 chi guy, and that guy's not getting dueled.
Much like, yeah, you've covered everything there is to say about this card. My only 2 cents will be that I hate this card because it doesn't reduce fear effects. So now, when we see this block of text and we automatically shortcut it to reduce everything, we can't. We have to stop and carefully read to see which types of effects it's reducing, because they're not consistently applying this templating to every single card with all 3.
Well, and so one of the things that changes is, so this affects all cards in the unit. Other versions of that effect target just like the follower or the personality, right?
Yep, but that's another thing. It's another thing about it that I don't like, that they're making, and they're like making these subtle changes to the bricks of text. Like L5R is a game with a lot of text, and I think it's important to have consistent templating to make it easier for the players to understand the board states.
Do I really like this card in Shugenja-based Unicorn Attack? I think maybe I do. It pumps up so it turns like a 3/3 guy into a 6/4 guy or a 6/5 guy, and then I put down my stones.
Yeah, with stones, it's a
It's
5
really
for 5.
Applications.
Yeah, I think it's a cool card, and it'll see play.
It's a really.
Anytime you see a Efficient Forest for good gold, it's gonna pop up. All right, Takatsume. Anytime you attack another player, you draw a card, and you can make them attack you with all their guys.
What? What are you looking at?
Sorry. This is a.
What is that reference?
It's a Biden, man. It's a Biden.
Oh wow! I get it. Oh wow! I totally miss it because I mean nobody's played mono blue since Kanzer's Tarkir rotated in, right? So you're a little behind me on that. You should have made a better way. So, Matsu Hachiro is the sort of Go-High soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a 2 for 2 on Go-High, so that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Just straight force. It's another card. So we talked about the deck that plays the corrupt, the 1 for 2s that you can attach an item to. Like, hey, here's another one. Not much to say about it.
This is the set with experienced Chiro, right? The really the unplayably bad Paragon experienced guy.
Yep.
So you're not putting this on him, but
he'll put it on his basic. If you're the kind of deck that's playing Heavy Hammer, you might also be the kind of deck that's playing Takatsume. Otherwise, I don't think 3 gold for 2 force and a sort of poopy fear effect is going to make the cut. Taketori.
It's about so Kikita Daitsu. I have to look him up. I don't know who that is. Okay,
it's the guy. It's the duelist.
He's the 3/2 duelist Kensei who we hated.
The one that can only attach one weapon, right?
Yep, the one that can only attach one weapon. So this is the one weapon he would attach, apparently. Delightfully one-handed, because Robbins. If your card bound this personality, okay, so I like that ability a lot.
Yeah, you throw it.
Than Akumato. You can put it on Daiodochi Kinta, shoot someone with Kinta, and then straighten Kinta, and then profit.
4 focus value.
So
makes your range attacks better. I think this card is perfectly fine. Good force to gold ratio.
Good weapon, and bowing your own guys and then having a way to straighten them is really nice. I like this card. I don't think I'll play it a lot, but
I think this is a card that can make the cut in a Shugenja based deck. Also 3 for 3 with Stones of Purity. And for all the spells that require you to bow the Shugenja, like, hey, straight unbow. So
I
this,
can see it in aggressive decks, right? Scout decks, you can go like Fearful Volleys, Straighten. I mean,
yep,
there's a lot of application to this
or
card. It's
even
a good
no
one. It's a good
mercy,
common.
no mercy straighten. Yeah, great common, great card. I think it'll pop up here and there. Battle straighten is good, and negating costs is also really good. Tessin of the Tsunami Legion.
Okay, well, I like the title.
So
Cavalry Tactician, and he can run away.
I think this card's not going to make the cut at 6 gold for no force. It's just not going to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so Cavalry and Tactician would suggest putting it on a guy with a certain amount of force and turning him into an offensive threat, right? You put him on your Crab Conqueror guy Berserker who's 5 force, and now you have a 5 force Cavalry Tactician, sleeves a couple provinces, something like that, right? You put it on your Oni and take a province that way, right? So that would have suggest an offensive stratagem, and then the battle is run away and straighten, which would seem to supplement like a defensive attrition strategy. I defend, I shoot you, and then I eject.
Yep.
So there's some cognitive dissonance between the two. 6 gold is a lot just to gain traits or just to gain that battle ability. I mean, I could rather just do some kind of strategic withdrawal type effects. I think that this one's probably costed out of playable range. It would have to be maybe 3-4 gold to get me to look at it, but maybe there's someone more clever than us who will find a way to really turn this into a broken thing. There's a 3 gold cost card that can be like reduced to 2 that gives you Tactician from a line in the set. Nobody's playing that. Is spending 3 more gold just to get Cavalry worth it?
Nope.
So I mean, you have to have a certain kind of dynasty plus a certain kind of fate to make the Tactician valuable. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I'm going with straight nope on this. If it had some kind of force, I mean, at 6 gold, it has to be impacting the board when you play it, and this isn't. This is a fully set up card. Like you said, the card's all over the place. It's got defensive traits, it's got offensive traits. And more to the point, the character on the Tessin itself is drawn incorrectly. I assume it's supposed to be water because it is the Tsunami Legion Tessin, but they forgot a stroke on the bottom, so it says wood. Well done, guys.
What are you talking about? Because you know how to read the language now, right? I didn't even think of that.
Well, I know how to read Chinese. I don't know how to read Rokugani, and it's very important to recognize that they're not the same.
It's right. So there you go.
So pass on the Tessin.
All
right, Token of Affection is not an affection token. The fact that this was printed in the exact same set that had affection tokens. This is not some weird legacy card they had to put clarification on for the purposes of the Oracle text. Like, come on, guys. You couldn't think of any other name for this that would be less confusing, that would not require reminder text on the card?
I can't believe they didn't just call it the love letter, by the way. Like, I really thought, like, it seemed so, like, clear and straightforward to me, right? Like,
yep.
It's the love letter. Anyway, I don't know how many. I guess you could play 2 if you're playing an honor deck and you really want to see Miyaka to discard the favor to draw some cards. We like Miyaka. We think she's pretty good, and this is to get her. Yep. I don't know if and then you can just, like, if you do have her, you can just favor away any extraneous tokens or something. I mean, it's fine. It's a tutor effect for a above average unique. I don't think I would play it. Maybe I'd play 1 or 2. You don't have to bow anything. I mean, it's really costless, right? I mean, it is as free as it could possibly be.
Except for a fate slot.
Okay.
So, you may be playing 1 because courtiers do have a certain amount of deck manipulation now. If you're playing the girl, it allows you to flush her early and guiltlessly. So once you hit 12, you can bring her back and then buy her out and get your draw engine going.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the way Miyaka helps, if you have your favorites, the way she helps you refill your hand, you might as well just play 3 and say, whatever, I'll work my way through a few extraneous copies. It's a full focus value card. I can do it away. So it's fine. I don't think you'll be excited to draw, but it'll serve a functional purpose in your deck.
Yeah, I think name fail, but fine card. Nothing to see here. Nothing to be upset about. Nothing to be happy about. We'll talk more about the card maybe when we talk about the Love Letter deck. Nothing. We won't say anything good. All right, Tsuruchi Hankyu.
This card bums me out because I think of Chuda Hanku. They sound similar enough. Uh, and obviously it's not that, but
Yeah.
it is a card that every Pew Pew deck is playing 3 of because 2 gold for a range 2 attack in concert with your personalities that range attack in concert with your spearmen.
Yep.
They combine pretty quickly, and this is the rare thing where you get gold equal to ranged attack value plus you get the +1 force. It's kind of a free will. This is a really solid card for those PP decks.
Yep.
And they're all going to play it in triplicate.
Yeah, this card's great, especially if you end up with a Pew Pew guy that doesn't bow. There's not many of them anymore, but if you do, then it's all just upside.
Yep.
I play Ashigar Spearman in a number of decks, and this is strictly better. Well, it doesn't replace itself. This is the kind of card I'd love to see expendable on, but you can't have everything at common.
Yep.
All right, Ugusiu. Is that how you pronounce this?
The first thing I always like to do with these is like find out who Kakita Shinichi is. That's always important to me. Okay, and this is the guy from Aligned in the End. Okay, he's the buddy of the guy we hate. I
Yep.
like Shinichi. He's 2 force, 3 chi, makes a fear 3. We don't really play him very much, but he's got Yojimbo Bazillion. Okay, I just like to check that out.
Yep, so it's a
If
2
this
for
actually
2
goes
that
with this-
interacts with
Yep.
his printed fear ability, which I guess is cute. We're seeing this about, just fear effects destroy stuff all over the place. If you want to have that sort of effect, you have an unlimited pick of the litter for what card you'd like to generate it. If you're also in the market
Yep.
for a 2 force item, there you go. If you're not, then play Show of Power
And this
or any
is
number of
the,
other cards.
Well, this is the 4 force option, right? So this is the dual supplemental effect for that. Like you want to make your fear a little more valuable, so you reach for the item that triggers your duels. It's a fine card. Is there going to be a military dueling deck? And if there is, we don't have Justice of the Crane anymore, so maybe these kinds of +2, +1 for 2-3 gold cost cards end up becoming the default force generating effects. Okay.
This is another card, another effect, by the way. I think that could be keyworded. I think it could be like a fear effect becomes a terror effect or something.
Shorthand, anyway.
Yeah. All right. Unfinished
Interrupt
blade.
terror, yeah.
What about using a piece of sharp metal is honorable?
I don't get this card. I don't get the flavor. I don't get why they gave it an invest. I don't know, like, if it was just a +2, +1 for 3, gain 1 honor, that can't possibly be broken because Sparrow Clan 8 exists, and that exact, like, force 2 gold plus honor, plus it has a bow or straighten effect. So, I mean, this card is just under-designed. It's just a common filler card. There's nothing here.
This card is
You don't
lazy.
care about the
Like
honor.
they needed 173 cards. They were at 171. They're like, all right, well,
That's like, here we go.
just what do we got? Just throw some stuff in there.
They
Flavor
have a piece
fail.
of a blade.
Yeah, flavor fail.
Yeah.
Mechanics fail. Like, what's Invest doing on it? I don't know.
Brian Chumley had made this like cool forging art, and they were tired. It was late. It was 4 a.m. They wanted to finish the set. So like, here we
there
go.
you
It's
go.
not enough to hammer mindlessly upon the metal. A true forger folds his very soul into the blade. A true forger makes a cooler card, Brian Reese.
So the questions about investing from the discard pile. So I've asked this question a number of times. A number of other players have. They're not answering it. It becomes relevant again. If I could destroy this card with Keppo, how much does it cost to steal, and can I invest it?
I'm pretty sure invest is now permanent, and I'm pretty sure I heard like invest is a permanent cost increase. I have no idea if it can be like invested again. Like I don't know why they're not answering invest questions. I assume there's like something coming down in the next base set, in the 2020 festival base set. I'm just hoping.
Yeah, cross your fingers. I think of all the new mechanics, Invest was a biggest failure. I'll have an article about that up later.
They didn't. The implementation is clearly terrible, right?
Let's save it. Yeah.
Like,
Let's just save it
doesn't
for another
work.
time.
yeah. Okay.
So that was all the items. We can maybe do like a subset rundown at the end of the video. But let's push on now to spells. This is Bushido's Scourge. I don't know what water or air, it looks like water, but I guess it's an air spell, and what it has to do with Bushido. But here it is. Oh, I guess
Yep.
because it hits Samurai.
So this is we target your samurai, fear equal to the Shugenja or Samurai's chi. So you have to have a samurai to play it, and then you can make a fear that's up to 4 or 5. So this fits into our defensive honor deck just fine. You gain your 1, and then you can, if you have your 5 chi Shugenja from this set, you can make a fear 5.
Yeah.
5 is a big number.
All the
So
you may target a
it's
samurai
okay.
stuff is just throwing bones to Rei Sensei.
Which you're never gonna play anyway, right? Like
Yeah.
let's not pretend for a moment that we're the people who are gonna try to make Rei Sensei work. Rei Sensei is awful and no one can make it work. This is a fine.
Just another
This is
example
a
of
fine
inelegant
order.
targeting. It really reminds me of the guys from Lotus, the ones that the Scorpion guys that would turn face up, and there was the guy that says like target player must target one of your personalities. And I'm sure Eugene, when he designed
Yeah,
that, felt that he was so clever, but really it's just inelegant and weird. And you read it and you wonder what the heck is this doing? What does it do? Why is it here? And I really don't like things like that on cards.
okay, so from the Scourge of Bushido, which is heir to the fearsome visage of the earth, uh, uh, this is a really interesting card. An unstoppable fear 2. It's got no gold cost. It's free, man. It's free. It doesn't
And
cost
it's
you anything to make a fear 2 effect. Unstoppable.
and it's courage. This might be good enough for the for the Phoenix Defensive Honor spell deck. That deck plays a
I
lot
worry
of
that
fear
we're
effects.
like, so that deck plays a lot of spells and it uses fear as a supplemental bow effect. I worry that you can't go too much. So one of the problems with fear is you have to be very careful because it's not, fear isn't something like duels or ranged attacks
Yeah, it's
where
not
like
good enough. It
the
can't get
effects
you all
are
the way
so
home.
inherently powerful. This might get slotted into various Shugenja based attack decks that are also in the, like, I could even see it in like a unicorn deck. They produce a certain amount of fear, stones of purity, and so forth, and it's a courage card. So this card will probably wind its way into a deck as a 1 or 2 off. I don't think you'll ever play it in triplicate. It's not for me. It's a little too underpowered, but it does have the low cost and the versatility of courage. So people will talk themselves into trying it out. We'll try it out. I just
Agreed.
don't like it.
I think that the courage aspect of it is actually a little misapplied here. Why am I not ever just tossing it down in a second copy on a guy to pump up the fear in a combination?
Yeah.
So that's a little awkward. But I think of all of the Unstoppable Fear cards we've seen this set and that we've talked about, this is the one I like the best just because it costs 0.
0.
All
Fierce
right,
Blood
Fierce
of the
Blood
Earth.
of
Now,
the
this is
Earth.
my
So
kind of card.
we're
Yeah.
3 for 3. We're 3 for 3 on dramatic spell names. Maybe this is a new thing. This card is cool because I believe that is Chidoruri.
Right, that's what we're hoping for anyway. It says Hidoruri, so we're hoping. I'm hoping.
Um,
I will talk about the spell and how much I love it, because it gives my guy Shadowlands and it blows up my guys, because who needs straight effects when I can just blow up my bowed guys and gain a force bonus equal to their force or chi. No one's going to play this spell. I'll be the only one. I love it. It's not very good. You probably shouldn't play it, but I'm going to play it anyway.
yeah, this is a really cool spell. It's a total throwback to classic Shadowlands spells, to classic Maho spells. Gain Shadowlands, 0 focus value, blow up your own stuff to get benefits. The two honor hit on the effect is such a salty rub-in. You're already blown up your own guys for marginal value. I don't know why they had attacked that. I get that it's flavor or whatever, but they couldn't have put a singular hit up front. They had to make me lose 2 every time I used this so-so ability. Really?
Yeah. The rule of location still applies, so there's no cool, like, put it on a cavalry guy, cavalry over, blow up a guy at home. There's just, if I could blow up a guy at any location, maybe
My only hope for this
try to
card,
sell you on it being a strategically valuable card. It's not.
yeah, my only hope for this card is that
You have hope for
Ashura
this
is in
card?
20 festivals.
That's right. Um, if there, so can I get good value out of it by blowing up? Like, if I have enough expendable guys, okay. Maybe there's like some sort of resurrection effect down the line where you'll blow up your guy and buy him back. All pretty tough.
Yeah, the
to
Phoenix
see.
box has it. So in your Tsukimi super unit deck, you know, you can attack with a bunch of stuff, blow them up, put more force on Tsukimi, and then buy your guys back.
Yep. So, I mean, if there was a will effect or something like that, if there was a at any cost to come back from the dead, but those cards aren't around right now.
Because
So,
they're good.
I mean, I'll keep it in mind, and I like this card, but it's not something you should be playing. Final Ruin on the other
Final
hand, which is
Ruin. All right, this is potentially my favorite card in the set.
Are you gonna build your Ray Sensei deck now? I mean, come
Well,
on,
you've
come
already
on,
got the Race Sensei on lockdown. I'm not gonna move in. I'm a bro. I follow the bro code. If one of my bros is dating a girl, I don't make any moves on her. So Race Sensei's all
Nice.
you. This card is super cool. It's almost enough to make me want to play. Oh, I'm sorry. Wow. Okay. Yeah, Race Sensei. I thought you were talking about the Fire Sense, the Fire Shugenja
No,
Sensei.
no. This is you. Race. That girl is all open to you, buddy.
Oh, Race Sensei's a dude.
Well, I mean, I don't judge.
Yeah, this is almost enough to make you want to play the Race Sensei deck. Finally, something to do with it that isn't Searing Siege.
So.
Moreover, it's something to do.
Because destroy a target enemy card without attachments is just good. But now there's more stuff. There's force less than
Right.
chi, so you're not blowing up really big stuff. But
Except you are, because so here's the thing about this card is that it synergizes with the spell that I really liked from last set, the one the absent, the one that you can make absent engage that gives them +2/+2.
+2/+2.
So I have multiple copies of that. I have Final Ruin. I defend with my Samurai. I get them up to like 6 or 7 force with my couple spells, and then I Final Ruin, Thoughtless Sacrifice, blow you out.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like you've already got the wheels are already spinning. This is a
I'm-
good card.
I'm building this deck. This card is awesome. Now, this card does not
good.
require Ray Sensei to be good.
No,
That's
Absolutely
important to
not.
remember.
that's really important to remember.
And in fact,
and this,
where this card will be good is in the Fire Shugenja deck, not in the Ray Sensei deck.
yeah, I could see that.
I mean, this is just like, how thin are we in this set on blow something up? And finally, here it is. Here's the card that says bow a thing, blow it up. Like, this is going to be like the guerrilla tactics of Ivory Part 2. This is the card that's just like gonna kick people in the balls and take their names.
Yep.
Like, everyone else is gonna be making unstoppable fear 2s, and you're gonna be bow destroy your guy.
Yep. Blowing things up is good. The fact that you're blowing things up without having to, I mean, you're bowing a spell. Like, you're paying 3 gold and you're bowing a spell. You're not bowing any of your personalities. You're not blowing up any of your stuff. You're paying 3 gold and bowing a spell and blowing stuff up, and that's good.
Importantly, now, even more importantly, is that it's on a spell. If this effect were on an item or a follower, I'd be excited about it, and I'd be talking about it. But there's a full 6 strategies in this environment that say straighten a target spell, take its actions again. And
Yep.
three of those strategies have discipline
I'm
on
gonna be
them.
disciplined for Phoenix. Yeah, yep. No, I mean, this is a good card. I think this is better than what Searing Siege ever was allowed to be.
This card is the real deal. This is the chase rare from the set. This card's going to see a lot of play. This card's going to push various Phoenix builds to the forefront. The fact that it's good enough to make me think about playing Ray Sensei is something worth noting. If Phoenix isn't in your test gauntlet now, it better be. I'll put it that way.
Okay, on to Fire Kami's Greed. Well, this Shugenja has fire. He has +1 force. You may target your samurai. Give it person. Okay, so this is a fine card. Mostly, I think you'll see it played in Koiso Sensei, the Fire Sensei Phoenix decks, just because it's a free fire card to blow up to the Sensei. But giving out a force penalty isn't bad. I mean, it's just not. You have to have the samurai, so that's a bit of a nombo there with the
No.
Sensei, but,
So
giving out.
you may target your samurai. So that line of text is just for Ray Sensei. That's just a throwaway line to
you're
say
right.
this works with Ray Sensei.
You're right.
That's exactly what I was talking about. How I don't like this templating because it's confusing even to people that have been playing L5R for 15 years.
So, I mean, there's a lot of flexibility. This is a really, so if you put it on, 4 or 5 Shugenja, giving out minus full force, minus 5 force, those are good sized numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to blow up to the sensei, this is a really good flexible card. It's another good tool for Phoenix. It feels like they're really coming together here. We're talking
Agreed.
about spells in terms of Phoenix, and maybe that's incorrect, right? Like Final Ruin, I don't want to be too smart. Like that's a good card for certain variations of a Mantis deck. They have some naval
Oh, absolutely.
Shugenja and some
Well,
cheap samurai.
forget Mantis, Unicorn.
Absolutely,
You
you're
know,
going
like
to see.
Unicorn playing Stones
Right,
of
you're
Purity is going to play the
absolutely
heck out of
going
that
to
card.
see. We have biases towards the Phoenix then. You're absolutely going to see something like Final Ruin spread across different factions
But yeah,
that go to
it'll
spells.
be
I
everywhere.
don't think Fire Kami's Greed you'll see as often, but definitely you're going to see it out of Phoenix with Fire. I mean, absolutely.
I think it's a
And,
card.
you'll probably see it from other places as well.
Fire Commies is a card that's going to be on the fence a little bit. It's a good effect. I liked Blistering Rain. I was one of the guys that thought that was a playable card.
Right.
I think Force Reductions.
There's a little bit more like negate my force penalties. I mean that's worked its way into a lot of the decks. But this is, if you've got the stats for it and you come to Kami's Greed, there's nothing wrong with that.
I will say that of all of the action suites, there's the fewest number of cards that muck with Force Reductions.
Yeah.
There's a number of cards that can negate or reduce ranged attacks. There's a number of cards that can negate or reduce negate. I guess you can't reduce a bow effect. But force reductions is tough. All you've really got is in Strict is the one card from a Line in the Sand that can give your guy resilient or remove a force penalty.
And I do think, we talk a lot about it, how does this fit into, a defensive Shugenja honor deck? I think it's just fine. I mean, it's another, okay, so you attack with all your guys, and, I'll bow this one, I'll bow that one, I'll fear this one. That guy over there is 3 force, I'll give him minus 3 force, and so now I can, set up my tie battle. All good stuff.
Unequivocally.
If it costs gold, we wouldn't play it, but at 0 gold, we think about playing it.
That's the other thing, right? Is that 0 gold anything is, especially 0 gold that generates force, even if it's only 1 force. that's something to think about. 0 gold for 1 force matters. All right, grasp the mind.
It's like study the wheel only. Sometimes you pay gold for it. Yep.
Yeah, it's worse than Study the Wheel. Study the Wheel turns the card face up first. So this is just a card. There's 2 cards in this set for moving through your dynasty. There's this one and another spell we'll see soon, plus Study the Wheel. So really, we're at a place in L5R where if you want to move through your dynasty deck really, really quickly, hey, you got Young Sensei, you got Famous Bazaar, you got Jade Bazaar, you got Grasp the Mind, you got Purity of the Air, or I forget what it's called that's coming up. You've got Study the Wheel, go nuts, go bonkers. Congratulations. Yeah, I don't know what that gets you yet, but you can do it.
Not a lot. I'm never going to play this card because there's nothing I'm really yearning to, draw my deck through to get to. It's not a bad card, and you can use it to disrupt your opponent if you want, right? As an open, you can put their, cool face, their cool card down and try to disrupt them a little bit. Gets a big meh for me. There might be something with Spirited Dispute where you put down your Gas the Mines and make them put down 2 guys and then pick up your 2 Gas the Mines and maybe try to make them put down some more guys.
Yeah.
But it's pretty reach around your head because it's just delay tactics, and is that enough, right? And,
that's the thing. So
not a bad card, just a very average card. And we've experienced that. We've built decks that we run out of our entire deck very quickly, and we had the Conspiracy token deck, but that doesn't really work the way you want it to work anymore. So.
As a disruption card, it's cutesy. There's a couple problems with it. The first is that there's no really bombs. If I could put the Shadow Dragon XP2 down on the bottom of their deck to avoid that grenade, then I'd like this card a lot. But as it stands, what am I putting down? Just a guy, and then I'm hoping they don't flip another guy off the top. It's a pretty far stretch. For all you know, you put down their guy, and then they get a better guy. So
So
Purification.
Purification of the Heart. Yep, it's
It,
got the. This is exactly the card you were talking about. So it's got the when you're equipped to an heir, you can do a province push, and it re-honors people. It doesn't blow up or anything, which is really actually pretty awesome. Well, we know that's true. So it's a way to always keep all your Shugenja honorable when playing against Dishonor.
mhm.
It doesn't work out exactly how you want because like you re-honor the guy and then you have to try to transfer it and they name it with their stronghold and it slows you down. But I guess if you care about this effect, then this exists in the card pool. I don't. I'm never gonna play it. Are you ever gonna play this? I mean, it's a 0 gold cost spell. Does that do anything for you? Do we care?
I'll play it in my Lion combo, get to an empty deck, buy the girl over and over again. This one's kind of cool
They're
because.
all water Shugenja, I think. They're not air.
All right, fair enough. This one's kind of cool because I was going to say that if you have 3 copies of her and one of them gets face down, then you can put her back into your deck, immediately refill with her face up. So you can kind of like cheaty turn her face up, which
Yep.
can trigger it for your next turn. So like you do your cycle a couple times, then you're left with the girl, and then you go into their turn, and I guess you just leave her face up anyway. There's
So I
nothing.
mean,
There's nothing here.
we stretched our arms out, we reached around our head, we touched our nose, and came up with a corner case scenario where this card could be playable and have value.
I guess
But
so.
you're never gonna play it, people. Like,
The real
you're just
idea,
not.
the real idea would be played in honor deck in order to get some cycle to always see a guy to proclaim, but just build your deck better. All right, here's a
Yep.
card I will be playing: Strength of the Fifth Ring, 3 gold,
So,
bow it, draw a card. Yep, I'm there. This is a card just for me.
so to give the viewers a peek behind the curtain, when we go, well, I buy a lot of cards from my local retailer. I buy boxes and boxes, and I share them with the group, and there's reimbursement subsidized and stuff. But every now and then I have to buy some singles. I identify the cards that I want to get. I want to make sure I have not one but 2 full playsets, so that when Jesse comes to Gen Con or whatever, I have enough cards to build multiple copies of the decks I want to build. So I make a little shopping list, and my shopping list is started with like 8 copies, Strength of the Fifth Ring. I'm just like I don't know exactly why. I figure I'll get like 1 playset for my stuff, but I want to make sure I have at least 11 copies of this spell because I intend to be putting it in a lot of decks. Man.
This card is so gas. This card is so gas. I know, like, so 4 or higher is tough, but
Except it's not at all because we have the Bat Clan Shugenja who's
yeah, okay, yeah, exactly.
at 5 gold. So it's just like you can just go, okay, I'd say I've got my Bat Clan Shugenja and my Shrine to Hachiman. I put this spell down. I bow my Bat Clan Shugenja and I bow the spell and I straighten them both and I draw a card and I'm a card drawing machine, baby.
yeah, drawing mine, drawing yours, drawing mine, drawing yours. Or
Now,
just draw 2. I give her 2 copies and I go draw. And then on your turn,
now-
draw 1. Like, this card is just so good. I don't know what they were thinking, but Sugenja, like, spells in this set are pushed. Like, we get the Wrath of Fire one. We get Strength of the Fifth Ring. Like, Sugenja decks are just going to be ripping off their top decks. You're going to be attacking into them with full hands every single battle while they've got 10 effects on the board. Sugenja is where it's at. Unicorn attack decks are going to play this card.
We're gonna talk about Sensei. But this is the first card. Like when I saw the Brotherhood of the Sensei, and I was like, what am I doing with this? Why do I care about having a hand size of 10? And then I saw Strength of the Fifth, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I can get the 10 cards now. I can figure this out.
I mean, Unicorn Sugenja with that Sensei instead of the Akikazu Sensei might be a thing. Like, you're still 4 gold, only 4 gold, but you make it work.
Maybe at 20 festivals when you start losing your gold, it's tough. We'll talk about. I don't want to spend too much time talking about Sensei before we get to it, but this isn't a spell for everyone because not everyone loves drawing cards with the same sort of just insane joy that we do. And you do have to be careful that you're drawing value. But what makes this card really great is it can be the only spell in my deck, and I can still build around having it, and then just like always have a couple more actions than my opponent. Always just have a little bit more going on, and just sort of get card advantage by having all these cards. This is a good one. I like this card.
But I mean, you think about the kind of deck that would want this, and so you can talk about like Unicorn Sugenja, and they've got plenty of 4 on the card Sugenja guys. You buy them out, and you just start drawing your card on your turn, drawing a card on their turn, and that's great. But defensive honor decks, the main thing about defensive honor is just having a critical mass
They run out of gas.
of gas. They need
Absolutely.
fate cards, and so if only there were a card that lets you draw infinite cards that could just rip off the top over and over and over and over and over again. How many times have I played the Phoenix deck? How many times have you played the Phoenix defensive honor deck where you end up with a ton of spells on board and 3 cards in your hand? Well, now you don't have that problem anymore.
I could even see it in a deck that's just like a dual deck. I mean, this card has a low focus value, but I could even see it in like, man, if I could just get 1 or 2 more duels, if I could just get to that next one at a time, if I could just, you just keep going and going and grinding and grinding.
This is it. I mean, this card is it. We've been suffering. So this has been a pretty good arc for card draw. We've had the most powerful card manipulation effect ever printed in Stillness Forges the Soul, but we've really been suffering on actual draw cards. Void has been nerfed into Oblivion, and mostly we've just been rocking the holdings. But now here it is. Here's the card that lets you do everything you've ever wanted.
It's been really tough to just straight add a card. It's been really tough to just sort of like get positive card advantage. It's been very easy to turn 1 card into look at some stuff and get 1 more card, right? Like that's something you've been
card selection is what they're pushing really hard right now, but card advantage is much tougher to get.
The negate a proclaim to draw some cards is the closest I think we've come to just like add a couple of play this card and end up with more cards in your hand.
Yeah.
And Strength of the Fifth Ring finally is the card that it's a little bit slower, but not a lot slower, and it starts to really get you going.
So I will be playing this card a ton. Look for deck after deck after deck that plays Shugenja and Strength of the Fifth Ring on EnoughTalk.com.
Should we? I guess we didn't talk about the Mantis Stronghold though, right? So there is something to be said about like you don't use the Mantis box all the time like crazy, and that's got a pay 3 gold draw card. So we should maybe take a moment to talk about why this is better, and it's because you pay 3 gold once, and then if your proper conditions are met, which it's not too hard to do, you actually gain multiple cards for free.
It's also an open.
It's a much better rate, yeah. So, and remember, you don't have to draw cards. We can't ever stop ourselves, but in theory, you can just be like keep your guy there.
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, it's an open too. Let's not graze over that. Okay, Touch of Lightning. This is a much less exciting card, but I do think it's a card that matters. It's going to replace Steal the Candle's Flame in the Pew Pew decks.
Right. It's instead of there's the Visage of Earth or whatever had the Unstoppable Fear. This is Unstoppable Ranged Attack. The difference though is it's a ranged 1 that goes to range 2. Much as I liked the 2 gold cost item that made a range 2 attack, this is 0. I mean, making range 2. Mantis Pew Pew with Naval Shugenja. This is solid.
Yeah.
I
think this card.
2 is never enough, but if you have a Naval Shugenja, of which there's a couple, and you have a Spearman attached, and you can go like Naval ranged 4, that's a fine play.
No, I think this card falls in the real deal category.
Right.
You play it in.
Yeah.
Can you play it in Koyoshi Sensei decks? Does the spells need to be fire or just the personalities?
Just the personalities.
Yeah, so it lets your Sensei go from a range 3 to a range 4 or 5, and suddenly it matters. If you've got one of the other fire spells that makes a range attack, slap them on both, make it unstoppable, shoot their big guy, like take that turtle shell.
Oh, I was wrong. I just read Kosai Sensei, and you can only equip spells that are fire. So that's
all right, well, never mind. All that commentary is gone. I've had some embarrassingly off commentary with respect to range and melee attacks.
People might think we're ridiculous. I will remind them that A, when we build our decks, we actually get to read the cards as we put them into our decks, and B, there's a lot of L5R in the world, and when you start running through these sets, sometimes you forget things, and the mind goes a little scattered, and that's just some.
I mean, we're digging up. I feel like we're digging up card references from way back in the day. Like, there's a lot in the databanks here.
Yep, and when you dropped an occupied terrain reference. That was great. So when you go on memory, things happen.
All right,
Okay,
so
and that is all of the attachments. There's quite a lot of them, and I think when we got the spells, we saw a lot of stuff we liked.
yeah, so
I
we
can
talked a
barely
lot about
remember a follower
spells.
I care about. I guess melee spearman. Yeah, spells are up. Followers are middle of the road, and items were sort of pooey, right? I mean, I guess the demolisher was something I care about, and you don't.
Yeah, so there was
You
so
know,
items.
it's a pretty mixed bag.
I think items were pretty middle of the road. We just saw efficient force to gold. Items have been kind of stripped down from their former Emperor Edition glory into this mishmash that
Yeah.
we're used to. Demolisher will see play because it says bow it, kill a guy, and everybody's going to be playing Shrine to Hachiman anyway, so that's fine. But overall, there's some cards that like maybe you'll grab because you want a specific type of effect, but not real, but not really.
Yep.
Followers
Does.
were all over the place. There was some really good ones. There was the Legion that is efficient gold, and there's the Undead Horde that I'm really excited to try out. But for the most part, followers are so good as it stands anyway that they don't need a lot of help. If they get one or two good cards, great.
So
Spells.
yeah, pretty solid attachment design. I think I'm actually pretty happy with the batting average of the attachments, and we're legitimately excited over some of the spells. So that's not nothing.
Yeah, the spells are
Mostly,
the
mostly
breakout
final
hit
ruin
here.
and strength of the fifth ring, but still, I mean that's good enough for me.
I've never been more upset about the existence of the Samusu family.
Yeah,
If
because
only,
you
yeah.
think they might be eating up a couple of Shugenja slots there.
Well, they kicked out. I mean, like mechanically, the tutor were removed, and we got Samusu instead. I will note
Yeah,
that
we
the artisan guy has 3 chi, can give himself a weapon, go to 4, and then you can attach the spell. So I'll probably be doing
yeah,
that.
I did not need to have that pointed out to me, but thank you anyway.
All right, so that was attachments. I'm sure we had a lot of pretty hardcore, hardline opinions on some of these. I hope people will disagree with us. If you do, leave a comment, argue with us, agree with us. We want discussion. The whole point of doing this is to talk about the cards. So talk, talk, talk. But for right now, this has been enough talk. I'm Jesse. That's
Enough,
Paul.
everybody.